Hello guys, today we are going to look at form handling, see how we can use PHP to interact with form, HTML form. So, and then see how we can make use of the two important super global variables, $_post and $_get in a form operation. Now, users use form to interact with web apps. All the information that we collect, everything, and then is able to send to the back end uses form. So form is very, very important in PHP application. Now, say form uses super global variable, which is the post and the get to collect data from users. Now we are going to we will now use PHP to create a simple registration form with username, password, role, which is buyer and seller, favorite color, languages spoken, comments, and accept the terms and conditions. So we will create a form and see how we can use PHP to post data in the form. But before we continue, let us look at the two important super global variable used for sending data to server side. So we will create a form and see how we can use PHP to post data in the form. Now let's see how it goes now. First of all, we have what is called get. So get data are appended to URL, which exposes sensitive data. So if you want to use get is used for small size of characters, which is from 500 to 2000. So this implies that it could only carry at most 2000 characters, and others will be, so if it carries more than that, it will be truncated. And if you are handling sensitive data, you are not expected to use get, because when you use get, the data that you are sending to the server side will be shown on your browser header as URL, the address bar, so you see it there. So if you use something like sensitive data, it doesn't mean that one will see it and that can compromise your application. Now we have, and now this is the PHP array this is the PHP array, which is underscore $_get. So this is what is used now to getting, which we'll see in the course of our training. We also have post. When when are we supposed to use post? So the data is in the body of HTML. Now, when you use post, the data is in the body of HTTP request. You see, this it's so everything is embedded. So it's not seen, it's not on the address bar of your browser. So this does not have size limit. So no size limit. You can actually upload, you can carry out file uploads. File uploads are possible when you are using a post. So example, this is it. So array on, so the PHP array that is used is what? $_post. And the one for file upload is what? $_file. So use it to upload file. Now, let us see different form elements that we will use in PHP form for PHP form data collection. Let's go to this website and look for it. Just go to and then look for see different file element. So this contain the HTML standard. So now we look for One page HTML. We click on it to open HTML. This has open HTML. So what are we looking for? We are looking for inputs. We go to inputs. Input is at the 10. So this contains different HTML tag. So we now have input element from the input element now. So okay, there you have form. Let's click on form element over here. We click on form. So this has to do with different form element. But actually, we are actually looking at input element. We click on input element. We have different input element here. Pattern, value. But let's just watch out here now. So the input element you look at, we have the hidden state, the type, we have the text, we have the telephone URL, we have the what? Email, you have the email password, date, month, weeks, local time, submit, and the rest of it. So these are the input element we are going to require, then common inputs API and the rest of it, option, text error, and the rest of it. So these are the form input element that we will be making use of it. All right, so now let's get back to add this thing now. All right, so now, first of all, we want to look at how we can actually process from form element. So data is put into now. When you are looking at form, data is put into, in processing form element, data is put into this array, a $_get array or $_post arrays and sent to the backend for processing. Now we have name attribute in the form. So the name attribute of input tag is an array key that points to the value entered on the form, which is used by the backend to retrieve input data. So now, there on the name tag. So the name tag now is name attribute as keep is more or less like a placeholder that hold what is entered in the form and then pass it to the backend for processing. So now we have the value. You also value is a content of fields or bottom caption. So the value as the content. So you have the value attribute. There are special cases of the form operation. The following are special cases. We have the multiple select. We have the radio button. We have the checkboxes. So the checkboxes are not linked together, but the radio buttons, the name attribute key must be the same in order to link the radio buttons together, which makes it possible to only select one of the link radio buttons. So this simply means that when you are using radio button, all the fields that are linked together need to have the same name attributes. Like for instance, now if you are using radio button for gender, which is a female and male, so it therefore means that the name attribute will carry the same name. That could be name equals to gender. The next one, name equals to gender. So at the end of the day, because of the same name, so you'll be able to link together and then you select anyone you want to select. So you can select one at a time. But in the case of the checkboxes has multiple select. So you can select different one. All right. So now let us see how we can create a form. So we come to here. Let's see our form. We have our form here. So if we look at it now, we can open our form here now. Okay. So yeah, it's just like a normal HTML form. First of all, we need to get everything ready because this is the form that we'll be using now. It's like normal HTML form in which we have the title as usual. We have the title here. So we have the body here, which is purely HTML, and here we have registration. So if we now run this form now, let's go live. We go live for this form now, live. So it's going to display, it will display this form for us the way it is here like this. Let's check it on the browser, check it out on the browser and see how it works. You can come to the browser. I started. Okay, so you can come to the browser. First of all, let's start as one. So that it will now run for us. So this is the form. So we are going to now work on this form now. So first of all, we are going to look at form process. We should be able to now enter data and then submit it using PHP. So that is how we are going to see it. So here now, in here, we have the username, which is here, the username that we have it here. We have the username here, which is this field. Username. Here, this is the form. We have the post, the action. The action simply means the file that we are sending it to process. So now we have the name here, the username here. We have the name attribute, which is what it carries the name, which is here. We have the password. We have the type is password. Type here is text, and then the name attribute is password. It can be anything anywhere, but when you are naming it, it should be similar. And then here we have radio button. If you look at it here, this is row. This is row. So therefore mean that what links the radio button together is this name attribute, which has role here, which has role. That is why you could only select one at a time. You cannot select more than one. Have you seen it there? So that is what makes it possible like that. And then we have colors. We have colors. So you can now using what select, and then the name is color. So you can select the drop down, select any color that you want. Then you have spoken language. The spoken language now comes with a multi. So it has multiple. Now, it has multiple in the sense that it therefore means that it can select more than one. So that is why in the name attribute, we have this array so that it's going to have collection. So I can select here, I can select here. So I can select more than one and then send. And then here in there, we have the start, the select HTML tag, and then we have the option. So now the value is when you select here, this value is sent to the database. You select this value is sent to the back end at the case maybe. Then we have the comments now that make use of. You have the comments, so the comments here, you have the comment which make use of the text area and then the condition. So that is that. So we'll now work with this form now. That is the complete form that we'll now work on it. All right, so now let's see how we can actually process a form. So let's check it on the browser and see how this works. So we have a local host. That's here slash forms slash form initials, form initials, as form initials. PHP. That is not fixing it. Initials. Okay, so we have it here now. So you see, this is our forms here. So nothing is actually happening here. So now let's see how we are going to now use it now. If you come down here and then you click on register, register sending to me. So nothing is actually happening. Okay. So now let's process our form. So coming down here now, we have our form here. We look at how to use PHP to lasso, lasso CBT. All right, so now coming down here now, lasso CBT. So you look up here now. Okay, so now we now start processing our PHP now. We want to get the contents of the form. So first of all, we have the name. So we declare the variable. So we declare the variable. First of all, we declare name, password, row, this language which is in there. Then we have the comments, and then, so we declare it because we'll use it for validation. You understand? So now we come down here. First of all, we now post from this our form. Now we say, okay, we have name. This is the name. This is the username, and this is registration. So we say that, okay, fine. We post the name here. You say, first of all, we have to check to ensure that what we are actually sending exists. Like for instance, now we say, if it's set, first of all, we have to check if the form is actually submitted. Now, if it's set underscored here, now, so here, submitting it here, this is submit. Submit is here, which is this. All right, so now, so we now say, we have the form here now. Form. So now say, if is set, if is set, if is set, if is set simply means check. You are checking the to determine if the variable is declared or is different or is null. So you want to check whether it's null. So now, if it's set, it's a underscore post submit. If this is true, if actually is true, then check if the name is set. So if the name is set, what happened? Pick this and then save it in this name variable, the name variable that was declared here, and initialize it to empty. The same thing goes with the password. If it's set, password. Now, if it's set, role. So if it's set until we got to this point. Now, what are we to do? By the time we are able to collect that from, so we are now collecting what the user have submitted. So by the time we finish collecting it now, this is where we now print it out. We print the name. You could remember here, this is the print F with the placeholder. We have the name, we have the password here, and the case may be. Now, we now ask, there is always need for us to use, now this is HTML special character. In order to prevent injection or cross site injection. So we use that tendency that they can put in any character and then send it to our database in order to destroy our system. So any character that is not plain text, what happened? This HTTP special character will now detect it and then change it to make it to be a plain text, so that even though you submit it, whether JavaScript code or whatever, even though you submit it, it will now have any effect on the database. So that is why we apply this now. We now use this function, this special function that is called HTML special char result as a character, and then use it to eliminate that. So once that is done now, we now echo, and now let's see how we run. Let's run our form and see how it works now. Sorry. So let's um, come here and enter username More. Moren username, Moren, password, password, role is buyer. Now, red, select red. I can select more than one color. This is good. And then accept it and then click on submit. Have you seen it here? What we send to the server, you understand? So PHP has collected it and then print it out for us here. So what happened that you submit to PHP, PHP now collects it from here and then send it to us here. So that is how to actually manipulate form. If I now come down here and then add another one, let's say for Moren, you have the password 12345 at the case maybe. Click on here, via, and then come in here, select another color. Then I will select all the languages. Let's say this, this, this is testing. This is testing. And then click on accept and then submit. You see, are we seeing it? Select languages, Yoruba, Igbo, outside. This is testing, and then it's okay. Now, if you look at the one that has to do with multiple selects, we use employed. So employed simply means it's now pick out. So now, saying this is an array, you understand? So since it is an array, it contains more than one value that is coming from here, and then you save it as an array. So we will now pick the language, which is this one now. We now pick the language and then look through it. We now ask to exploit. So in order for us to be able to retrieve, let's say if I put comma here, let's see what will happen here. If I put comma here and then save the work and then submit it again, let's see what will happen. Use on so more for swap seller. Swap. So wait. Everything is so the comma is there, Yoruba and Yoruba, comma, Igbo, comma. So there are two languages that I select that is showing this. So that is why it's able to put that comma. You get it now. So so it's exploit and then append. So that is how to do that we can actually um check our form. Let's say for instance now you want to do form validation. We can actually validate a form because it's very important for you to validate your form to ensure that a particular field is that empty. If a field is empty, what happens? It will happen. Yeah, for instance, yeah. If I come down here and then click on submit, yeah, this one will actually submit. It submit empty, in which at times it's not okay for you to send empty fields or empty data to the database because it might flag error. So now let's see how we can actually use. So yeah, we have here now. Okay, so we have form validation. Let's see how we actually validate our form here. Okay, so uh, yeah, we change to lasso. Yeah. Um, so now, yeah, coming down here, let's see how it works now. First of all, we have to now initialize a value and then make it to be true. we have a value that we initialize and make it to be true right from here now. See, coming down, you say, okay, fine. It's okay. It should be what? True. After declaring all this, say it's okay to should be true. So now, if it's okay is false, what happened? If it's okay equals to false, depending on how we use it. If it's equals to false, yeah, or it should proceed. If it does not equal to false, what happened? It should not proceed. Now, let's say, here we come it here now. We have here now. You say, not if it's not set this and this equals to this. So if what is here is false, if what is here now does not meet, what happened? Set it to false. But if the condition passes, what happened? Set the actual value. We come down here and say, if not set, password, that simply means if password is empty, if password is not set, it's not submitted, or the password is empty, what happened? Set is okay to false. So we do the same to every other one. Now, coming to language, the language is in array. You understand? You have to check the array. Now, see, say, if it's set and if it's not an array, what happens? Count. This equals to 0, set it to 4, else put the language here. Okay? So that is that. And then we finish. By the time we finish now, we now echo our work to say. But if that condition does not mean, what happened? Make it to be validation false. So now let's check that and see how it works. Okay, so now let's say if we submit here now like this, what happened? It tells us that the validation is what? False. Have you seen it there? So it said that the validation is false. So let's say we have it here. Uh, so, so CBT. Then we have load on units now. Okay. And we have so this one now. So let's say if we now submit everything now, so this is not empty. This is not empty. This is not empty. This is not empty. Let's click it and then select this now. Okay. Then some. What happened? It passes now because it's not empty. If we submit empty now, it will tell us if failed. Let's say we have this one now, and then we submit it and see what it's still failed. So everything has to be completed. So that is how we actually run our validation using forms. So we have looked at different aspects of how we can actually use underscore post array to do what? To collect forms data and then send it to the backend. So the next thing that we are going to look at, we will now do at how we can actually upload pictures and other files to the server. So like that. Okay, so let's the server, and then we also look at how to manipulate database, and then we look at object-oriented programming. All right.